Look guys, there are some amazing tips or tricks to help you dramatically increase your credit score in a very short amount of time. But there's very specific things that you have to do in order to make this stuff work, because you gotta know the rules if you plan on winning the game. Hi everyone, my name is Ben, and this channel is dedicated to all things personal finance, helping you earn more, spend less, and invest the difference. Now today we're going to be talking about your credit score and how to improve it. Specifically, we're going to talk about how to get rid of hard inquiries off of your credit report. Now I know some of you guys might already know what a hard inquiry is, but for those of you guys that don't, just bear with me here for about 30 seconds. So a hard inquiry is when you go and actually apply for some sort of a credit. Maybe a credit card or a mortgage or an auto loan or something like that. The lender is going to specifically ask you permission to pull your credit score, and simply the act of that lender pulling your credit score is going to negatively impact your credit score, regardless if you get approved for the loan or not. It's going to lower your credit score somewhere between 3 to 5 points. Now this is the opposite of a soft inquiry, where the lender does not need your permission to do a soft inquiry, and a soft inquiry does not affect your credit score whatsoever, so you can just completely ignore those. Now a hard inquiry, like I said, somewhere between 3 to 5 points, and it's going to negatively impact your credit score for 1 year typically. Now, it's going to show on your credit report for 2 years, but as far as the actual credit score itself, it's only going to affect generally for 1 year. And if you're going for a big purchase, like an auto loan, mortgage, or student loan or something like that, the credit bureaus know that you're going to generally shop around and try to get the best interest rate just because of, how expensive all of this stuff is. So in cases like that, you're typically going to get shopped around by the lender. They're going to farm you out to maybe a dozen or so different companies so that you can see who's got the best rate. Now, in cases like that, the first hard inquiry is going to negatively impact your credit score, but all of those subsequent follow-up inquiries from all of the other lenders should not negatively impact your credit score. So don't feel too bad if suddenly you see 10 hard inquiries on your credit report. The first one should negatively impact your score, and the rest of them should not, as long as those are pulled within 14 days, all the way out to about 45 days, depending on what credit model they're using. And these hard inquiries can sometimes stop you from getting approved for credit cards. Chase has a program known as the 524 rule, where if you applied for 5 or more trade lines within the last 24 months, they will automatically decline you for a Chase credit card, regardless of how good your credit score is. All right, so how do we get rid of some of these hard inquiries off your credit score to help boost your credit score? All right, so the first thing that you got to realize when it comes to removing negative items off of your credit report is the burden of proof always lies on the creditor. You don't have to prove why this item should be removed off of your credit report. The burden of proof is not on you, it's on them. It's almost like the American judicial system, right? Like we have a concept known as innocent until proven guilty. Same rules apply in the credit world. They have to prove that the hard inquiry that's showing on your credit report is actually yours. And if they can't prove that, by law, it must be deleted. So that's the first thing you got to realize. And the second thing you got to realize about disputing items off your credit report is they're not putting Sherlock Holmes on the case, right? Like they're not putting a detective that's going to go through and look at all the evidence and see what's going on. Like, we live in a digital age. They're not putting any actual man hours on the case. They're just reaching out to third-party data providers that collect and pool everybody's personal information. They're reaching out to those companies and trying to match up this account and somehow tie that account to you. Because if they can tie the account to you, then the account has been verified and it will stay on their credit report. But if they can't match it up and they can't prove that that inquiry is actually yours, then like I said, it has to be removed. So the whole key to all of this is knowing that they are going to reach out to some third-party data providers and try to link you to this account using the information in those data providers. So how do we stop them from being able to link you to the account? Well, have you ever watched a spy movie where, the good guys are digging through like the FBI database and they're trying to search for the bad guy and they're like, we can't find him. This guy's a ghost. He doesn't exist. Well, the same thing applies to you. You want to be a ghost. You need to eliminate your entire digital footprint so that they are not able to match you up in their database. Because all they have to do in order to verify the information is tie you as a person to something on that credit application. So maybe they tie you to an address or a telephone number or something like that. As long as they can link you to that account in some way, then according to the law, that account has been verified and it will stay on your credit report. So basically what you're going to want to do is you are going to first want to lock the credit bureaus out of all of these third-party data providers. That way, once they reach out and ask like, hey, does this stuff match any of your records in your database? The data provider is going to come back and say, look, bro, that dude doesn't exist. We don't even know who you're talking about. So you're going to want to go to these third-party data providers. You're going to want to go to their website, and you are going to want to freeze or opt out of their programs. So now there's a bunch of different providers, so this might take a couple of minutes, but you're going to want to freeze the accounts for ARS, ChexSystems, CoreLogic, Innovis, LexisNexis, NCTUE, and SageStream. And you're going to want to freeze or opt out of all of their stuff. Once you've frozen all of these third-party data providers, it's incredibly difficult for the credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, to actually reach out and verify any of your information because your information no longer exists. And the next thing, once you've frozen all of these third-party data providers, you're going to want to clean up the personal data section of your credit report. Now what I mean by this is your credit report probably has multiple names for you, different aliases, different addresses that you've lived over the years, different telephone numbers, different employers, your place of work. All that stuff probably has numerous entries as you move around and change cell phone providers and all that kind of stuff. You want one entry for each of those items. Get rid of anything that is not relevant. So for example, your name. If your name is Jonathan Michael Smith, then on your credit report it should say Jonathan Michael Smith. Not John Michael Smith, not John Mike Smith, not J.M. Smith, none of that junk, all right? One name, Jonathan Michael Smith. Your address should be your current address. Your telephone number should be your current telephone number. Everything else, get rid of it. So all you have to do in order to clean this stuff up is just simply write a dispute letter to the credit bureaus, all three of them, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and just say, hey, please clear up all of my personal data items. I'm showing a lot of inaccurate items. These are the current ones. Jonathan Michael Smith. Telephone number is, blah, blah, blah. Now, even better, in a perfect world, the telephone number that you used on the application package when you had this hard inquiry pulled, what if that telephone number wasn't even your current telephone number anymore? What if the address wasn't your current address? What if none of that stuff was current anymore? Because like I said, we're updating the actual credit bureau's list of stuff. So this is all that they're going to have on you. So even if they can match you up, now it's showing different telephone numbers. It's showing different addresses. So how could we theoretically fake some of this stuff? Well, it's super easy to get a Google Voice telephone number for free. It'll sync to your existing telephone number so that if somebody calls either one of those telephone numbers, your cell phone will ring. So technically, it's a new number. It is your number. It's just not the number that was previously on this credit application. So it's making it hard to actually match you up with these data providers. So if you can get creative and try to distance yourself any way that you can from what was on those original credit applications that you're trying to dispute, that makes it even better because now even if they can reach out to these third-party data providers, it's an extra layer, it's extra difficult for them to actually match anything up because everything is now different. So now once you've frozen all of those third-party data providers and you have cleaned up the personal items in your credit report where now you have only one item for everything, one name, one address, one telephone number, one employer, etc. Now you are ready to actually send a dispute letter to the 3 different credit bureaus and asking them to remove these hard inquiries because you do not recognize them. Now the process of disputing things at this point is actually relatively easy. You can just get on Google and type in 604 credit dispute letter. It should pull up like a template that you can use and just kind of edit it as necessary to list out all of the different items, all of the different hard inquiries that you feel should be removed. And then you're going to send that letter along with any other items that the credit bureaus require. Typically they need like a copy of your driver's license and proof of where you live and that kind of stuff. You're going to send all of that stuff certified mail, USPS certified mail, to each of the 3 different credit bureaus. Make sure it's certified mail, because certified mail timestamps it as far as when the credit bureaus actually receive this stuff. Because by law, they only have a certain amount of time to actually do what they were supposed to do. And typically, that's going to be 30 days. And if they can't do what they're supposed to do within 30 days, you can actually take them to small claims court and sue them. And you can get monetary damages up to $2,500. And you don't need lawyers or anything like that in small claims court. All you have to do is be able to prove that, hey, on this date, it's showing the USPS delivered my dispute letter to you, and now 30 plus days have gone by and you still haven't done what was supposed to be done. You have not resolved this dispute. So that's a super easy win. Like, all you got to do is show up and like, here, judge, 35 days since I mailed this letter off and it's still not done. That's it, you win. It's pretty much an open and shut case. Now in some cases, the credit bureaus have up to 45 days, so just keep that in mind. But generally speaking, 30 days to resolve your stuff, or else you are eligible to sue them. Now once this process is all said and done and you've actually got this stuff removed from your credit report, be sure to go back and unfreeze all of those different data providers that you previously froze out, because some of these are actually relatively important, like the NCTUE. That's the National Telecom and Utilities data provider. So if it's still frozen and you move, you might have a hard time getting your gas and electric and water turned on in your new apartment because you're frozen out of this NCTUE. So make sure you unfreeze everything once it's all said and done. If you found this video useful, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment down below, give it a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and as always, I'll see you all again next time. Thanks.